and welcome to Spotlight on the Arts. I'm Sherry Uppin and I will be your host today. We have a very unique show today, but first let's meet our panelists. Bill Hirschman is an arts journalist and a founder of FloridaTheaterOnStage.com. Michelle Solomon is also an arts journalist and the editor of MiamiArtZine.com. And Jeffrey Bruce is a director and a wonderful actor. As you know, technology is always changing, and those changes have had an effect on the theater. One of those technologies is projections. And with us today, we are very fortunate to have Josieu Jean, who has established himself here in South Florida as a leader in the art of theater projections. Welcome, Josieu, and congratulations on your Silver Palm Award.
Thank you.
So before we get into our discussion, I'd like to show the audience some of your work. Then we can talk about it. What we are about to see is from the Wicks Theater production of Disney's Beauty and the Beast.
Once upon a time, in a faraway land, a young prince lived in a shining castle. Although he had everything his heart desired, the prince was spoiled, selfish, and unkind. But then, one winter's night, an old beggar woman came to the castle and offered him a single rose in return for shelter from the bitter cold. Repulsed by her haggard appearance, the prince sneered at the gift and turned the old woman away. But she warned him not to be deceived by appearances, for beauty is found within. And when he dismissed her again, the old woman's ugliness melted away to reveal a beautiful enchantress. The prince tried to apologize, but it was too late, for she had seen that there was no love in his heart. As punishment, she transformed him into a hideous beast and placed a powerful spell on the castle and all who lived there. Ashamed of his monstrous form, the beast concealed himself inside his castle with a magic mirror as his only window to the outside world. The rose she had offered was truly an enchanted rose, which would bloom for many years. If he could learn to love another, and earn their love in return by the time the last petal fell, then the spell would be broken. If not, he would be doomed to remain a beast for all time. As the years passed, he fell into despair and lost all hope, for who could ever learn to love a beast?
Wow. Josieu, that was utterly fantastic. Will you tell us a little bit about what we saw?
That was the prologue that the director and I started working on when we first got Beauty and the Beast to work for the WIC. Dominic, he had the sound for it, and Beauty and the Beast is like one of my favorite stories. I was like, I'm so down to do this. It's like I'm in for it. So that was like a fun little, I guess, pet project, for lack of a better term, that I just love sinking my teeth into, just doing that opening. So.
Well, why don't you? Where are you from? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am born and raised in Miami, Florida. I grew up in the same house. I still live in the same house for the last 30 plus years. When I graduated high school, I went right into the Navy. I really just wanted to pay for college because my parents didn't have enough money to do so. So once I did the Navy for 4 years, went right into Full Sail, studied computer animation and motion graphic design, and started working small little jobs here and there, like Big Lots or GameStop. But I got my first leg in the door through theater as far as a stagehand, like moving set pieces and whatnot, start learning all the ins and outs. Quite honestly, I wish I went to school for theater to, understand more, but, the time I took to learn like the behind the scenes stuff was like pretty cool.
So you learned on the job.
Yeah, getting
That's the best
experience
way
through
to
that.
learn.
It really is. Like it was,
Yeah.
I've smashed many a finger using a hammer by accident. I mean,
But that was my question. I was going to ask you if you were an artist, if you were a graphic designer, and what all of a sudden when you got out of the Navy was the impetus to go into a rather unique profession.
I got
Not theater. No, I'm talking more about,
theater.
the
graphic
design. The graphics, yeah.
When it came after I graduated, for a year I was just trying to find a way to use my skill set into different things. I worked at a t-shirt company making graphic tees.
What was your skill set, though? That's what I'm getting at.
That was the hardest thing. Like after I got the degree in computer animation,
Right.
I couldn't figure it out. Like I didn't understand what I wanted out of this degree. I just knew I loved to draw, and I just had these ideas I just want to put on paper or any sort of medium that I just want to put out to. I had friends that always asked me to do certain things for like certain gigs and whatnot. But when it came down to theater, my first projection gig, I can easily say it was 2015, and Shanika Harrell asked me to do a projection for one of her one-woman shows for Cassius Clay, and I didn't know if I could do that. I didn't even know projections was a thing, so I was just slowly learning.
I want to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Can you explain to people? I mean, inside theater people probably know projections, but projections I've noticed lately have taken on a whole new direction for set design, and they enhance. So can you just talk a little bit about where you see like what the projections actually are?
Projections play, in my opinion, 3 different roles: lighting, scenery, and visual effects. So depending on where you would need it, you can play a grander scale on certain aspects. For me, I've noticed that I've used it more for scenery more than anything. I love using it for, quite honestly, special effects. Like that's where I would like to gear it towards. Specifically, bigger shows like Beauty and the Beast, where there's the scene where the character's running away from the wolf, and then you can build that scenery moving in the background as they're like jogging in place and whatnot. So I like those things, or explosions.
Wow. I have a question, and that is your greatest collaboration with the director, or is the director the one who decides I'm going to use projections, and then you work with
them?
Yeah.
Yes, it's usually the director that makes that decision, and 90% of the time they usually give me creative right to create, essentially.
So you
anything.
get creative
Yeah.
right. Oh,
Yeah.
that's what a fabulous job.
Can we see some more of your work? Have we got some more
That's
of
a
your
great
work
idea.
lined up?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, we have another clip to show. Now this one is from the Wick Theater's production of Annie.
That's
I got a
great.
lot of
Bravo.
questions.
Hope I can
So
answer
one
all
of the
of them.
things of your work at the WIC in particular, while there's work that you do during the run of the show, one of the things that amazes me is how, just like in this, you set a mood and you set the audience expectations, in some cases while they're still sitting down and talking to their neighbor. When you're doing that, what's your thought process or your creative process to do what you just did here?
That is actually a great question. For me, it's in my mindset, I'm just thinking about if I'm sitting in the house, what do I want to be doing? Like, I don't want to just sit there and just talk. I want to be like entertained, especially if overture is happening. Most overtures happen like within like 2 minutes and 3 minutes, 5 minutes, but sometimes they have to cut it down for for time. But if you can watch something, if you could take the time to like get entertained, be ready for a show by seeing some sort of visual effect or motion graphic or something that grabs your attention to be ready for the show. That's what I'm usually always in for. When I find myself just trying to come up with an idea, I'm usually just thinking to myself, okay, so I'm gonna do Annie. When I did Annie, all I can think was black and white. That's all my mindset was. But there's this girl, this vibrant girl, and her dog Sandy, that just she is the color. So I'd figure let's just throw in a splash of color with her and this black and white 1900s New York, if you will. Just build this black and white with her being the color. So
one of the things I love about it is, and that was a great example, is that it takes you out of, having just made dinner for the kids or just been out driving around. That what you do gets people into the mindset of the specific time. You did the same thing with Pirates of Penzance, if I remember.
Pirates of Penzance, that was Norb's idea, which I really enjoyed. I mean, I've worked with Norb since I first started. Director. I'm sorry, Norb Jerder, the director. I've worked with him since I started. The first show I worked with him was, I believe, George M. When we did Pirates of Penzance, he said, let's just do something like opening credits. I was like, I really like that idea. I love the idea of opening credits. Let's blow that up. I just wanted to do something along the lines of like a treasure map and, just showcase like these actors in this show. So I think it fit well. So.
But what about budget? Do we need to have a larger budget to have engage your work?
Unfortunately, I would say yes to need a larger budget, but sometimes
that's a good answer.
Like Marilyn Wick has blessed me with a great budget to do certain things, to at least push my ideas forward when it comes to doing projections. Funny Girl, Crazy for You, those two shows, we were able to do like rear projections. Like beforehand, it's been only forward, front-facing projections, which, we've been able to work with said front-facing projections, but I've always wanted rear projections. So for this past season we just finished, I love the fact that she gave us the budget to allow us to do, or for me, I should say, to do rear projections.
Sherry, you brought up the budget, because I was going to ask you, I'm sort of playing devil's advocate. I wonder if scenic designers are quaking in their boots right now, because is this the vision for the future? I can see, especially with smaller theaters, vis-a-vis dramas in particular, using projections to move things along so we don't have, a lot of expository nonsense. And, oh, well, yes, now they went down here, et cetera. Do you see this besides doing, and I did see Pirates of Penzance. I was working, thank God. I couldn't see the other shows. But I loved what you did at the beginning with the cast, et cetera. I love that. But do you think that you really are the wave of the future? And how many of you are there?
To be honest, I actually have no idea. Like, I feel like I'm the only person in this realm to do projections in the South Florida area.
Right.
So far, every person I've met has either been based in New York or California. As far as pushing out, I don't think I'm pushing out any sort of like scenic like design whatsoever. I think there's a place for us to work hand in hand regardless.
Well, I'm not being mean. I was just
Oh, no,
curious.
I
was
totally
just curious
understand.
about it.
I totally understand.
But especially for some of the theaters that are struggling, and I'm thinking of them doing projections rather than doing a bit bold set design, which might be an answer for them.
Like, how do you know when an idea is going to work or not? Or is it just kind of, let's kind of throw this against the wall, no pun intended, and
No,
see
you're
where it
absolutely right.
lands?
So it's the latter. It's really the latter. For me, it's a trial and error type thing.
And that's what he does. He throws things against
Throws
the
against the
wall.
wall.
You know, Jose, I'm so torn between, talking to you and then actually seeing your work, your brilliant work. So here comes another video, and this one is from Crazy for You, produced at the Wick Theater. Very excited to see this one.
Great.
So I got a question about when you do this. You had mentioned a moment ago the set designer, or you mentioned the set designer. I'm assuming, and I wish you could talk about the process, about how you have to integrate your work with the set designer's work, the lighting designer's work, the sound designer, et cetera, how that comes together. For instance, I don't know if you start working on this 6 months in advance in conversations with these people, or is this something like lighting designers often show up 5 days before opening? Oh. What's involved in the integration of the various disciplines?
For me, it's usually 2 to 3 months in advance. Whenever there's an idea, knowing that projections are going to be used for a show, I'm asked, hey, can we start collecting reference images? I have ideas. The director would come to me and just give me a list of ideas that they want to play with. And then I come back to them probably within that 2 months, a month after, with the ideas that I have. And then we try to collaborate within that time to try and build some sort of cue list of what we want to do for the show. When it comes to the overture, that one's like, we'll say 3 or 4 weeks prior, because we never know how long the overture is going to be. We don't know how long they're going to cut the music for. So it's just a like fly to your seat type situations. Like, let's do this, let's cut this, let's get this in there. And that part I find a little fun because, it's the pressure, just going with it.
So what's the actual like equipment? Like, are you behind like an
interested in
Apple
that.
computer or
Yeah.
I'm behind 3 different computers. One of them's an Apple. The other one's a Windows. I prefer either or, it doesn't matter.
And then
but
how
I
do you
guess,
do the actual projection? Like when people see that, where does that come from?
The projections, as far as projector goes, or
Yeah, just like when, when I'm sitting in the theater, I've looked back before, like, where's that coming from?
where's that light coming from? The projector is coming from, there's a projector, in the Wick Theater, there's a projector behind everyone in the house. That's the front of house projector, Barco, beautiful projector, runs like 10K. Like, it's an amazing projector. The other two, the rear projectors they're using now are Epsons that push, they're pretty strong projectors. They're laser projectors actually, so they last pretty longer, and they actually have a crisper light to it. So whenever we're doing certain projectors, scenes, background images, they actually have a
So it's really
pop to
new
'em.
tech. It's new tech.
Yeah.
I can see why directors give you rain because they probably don't know what to do. I'm going to take a vote. Do we have time for another clip? What is the
Yeah,
vote?
Hopefully.
Yeah, I want to see the Funny Girl
Hopefully.
clip.
Well, this here is a clip from Funny Girl,
good.
also produced by the Wick Theater. And here we go, another adventure. Well, my question is, how do you follow that?
Yeah,
I mean, it's just absolutely stunning. Do you have any mentors? Are there many people like you?
In the field of projection design, there isn't so many mentors I have. I'm slowly trying to build a mentor list so I can just follow. There was this past show I know Bill and I were just talking about in the green room not too long ago. I had no hand into this show. I wish I did, but it was Anastasia we were talking about.
Yeah.
And
That was amazing.
really loved that show, and I loved what they did, and it kind of pushed a lot of ideas for me as far as what I could possibly do for the
Yeah, that was the
new
national
season.
touring company that was
Exactly,
at the Broward
so.
Center. What are some of the challenges that you face? Like, is there something that you're just like, I mean, looking at this stuff, it's gorgeous and extravagant. It's like, it just seems so challenging, maybe because it's not my world.
No, I think it is challenging.
What I've learned a long time ago when it comes to, what I learned in college, I should just say, procrastination and creation go hand in hand. So there's not so much you can create without finding something else to do. So, I mean, if I procrastinate, more than likely I'll have an idea that pops up, okay, boom, that's it. This is what I want to do. But if I procrastinate too long, then those juices don't flow into that right place. So
Do you have other clients besides keep you busy?
No, not at all.
primarily the WIC.
Marilyn Wick is. I've been fortunate enough to get everything I can possibly have from her. So it's been amazing.
What about
Like,
ultimately you becoming the mentor and having to spread the wealth and the knowledge
I would
and the
love
brilliance
that. In
of
the
that?
next 2 years, I feel like I'm not ready to like pass on said information. I still give out pieces. People still call me. I've had friends that are trying to get into this field and whatnot and understand it. And I'm more than willing to answer all questions, but I feel like I'm not ready yet to like.
Could have
you know,
fooled
be-
me.
Did you think Full Sail was the place that helped you to develop your computer animation? I know Miami-Dade College, Broward College, I know has a lot of those kind of programs. Would you suggest that somebody out there listening that wants to do this kind of go into a animation school, like a
Yes,
a
I totally
college?
would say that. Yes, it's the tools that you would definitely learn from places like Full Sail or a school I wanted to go to that was kind of expensive, but Vancouver School of the Arts I wanted to go to. These are like all these schools that teaches you the tools that you would.
And I'm sure
need to
Broward,
use.
we got
Broward, yeah.
Broward County Schools
Yeah,
has some good
it's-
stuff.
It's amazing. So
I think we need another half hour. But,
Can we get another half?
yeah, absolutely fascinating. And,
Yeah.
and I would wait to see you pass on some of your information because this is the way to go. It's been absolutely wonderful.
Go see
and
him at the WIC.
it's been one of the most interesting shows, yeah, that I've
Thank you
seen.
so much.
I've learned a lot. And it's also very educational. Josieu Jean, I want to thank you for teaching us all about theater projections. Well, now that we all know, we can go out and work at the WIC and other theaters. And of course, I want to thank our panelists for being here today. Spotlight on the Arts is a community program, so we would love to hear from you, the community. You can email us at spotlightonthearts@browardschools.com. Let us know how we're doing, and please check our favorite websites to see what's going on all over South Florida. These websites are floridatheateronstage.com and miamiartzine.com. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure you tune in next week. And as the creator of the show, my mentor, Iris Acker, would always say, go to the theater. Thank you.